In this video, we're going to look at how to code a blinking light and how to change the rate of the blinking by using a touch sensor to signal the code to change speed. The touch sensor we'll be using is the microbit's touch logo, which is located at the top of the device. And we will set it to cycle through 3 different speeds of blinking: fast, medium, and slow. Note that if you want to download the code to an actual microbit, it will need to be a version 2. If you don't have a version 2 microbit, you can still use the simulator to run the program. We'll start with the blinking code without any speed variations, and then we'll add controls for changing its speed. The steps in creating it are: show an icon or set of points, clear the screen to turn off the image, and then just repeat that forever. Then we'll adjust the speed of the blinking using the pause block. Okay, I'm going to go into Basic, select Show Icon, and drag that into the Forever block. And I'm going to change this. We're going to use the cow icon down here for this project. Now I'll go back into Basic and I will select the clear screen and drag that under the cow icon. Okay, you can see it's blinking really fast here, so we almost can't see it blink. So we'll go ahead and go back into Basic and find the pause block and drag that out, and I'll place it under the cow icon. And there we slowed the blinking somewhat, so I'll go ahead and duplicate this and drag the copy under the clear screen. We'll leave these set at 100 milliseconds or 1/10 of a second for the pause. So now we have a blinking icon. The next step is to let the user change how quickly it blinks by pressing the touch logo at the top of the microbit. The pause that we have in our code right now is short, so the blinking will start at the fast speed. And each time the user presses the logo, the program will move to a longer pause, which will slow the blinking. After it reaches slow, or 1500 milliseconds, the next press will return it to fast. To keep track of the current speed, we'll use a variable called counter. Counter will have a value from 1 to 3. A value of 1 will represent fast, 2 will represent medium, and 3 will represent slow. So when the logo is pressed, the program will change the counter to the next value. And if the counter is set at 3, it will then reset to 1. And you can see that in the algorithm on the screen. So I'll start by creating a variable. I'll go into Variables, select Make a Variable, and type in counter. And then I'll click OK. And then I want to select the set block and drag that into the on start block and set the counter at 1. Now we'll handle the event of the logo being pressed. So I'll go into Input, scroll down to version 2 commands, and pull out the on logo pressed block. Now we need to create the conditional statements to determine what the value of counter should be. I'll start by going into Logic and selecting the If Then Else block and drop that into the On Logo Pressed block. Now I'll need a comparison statement to determine what the value of counter should be set to, so I'll go back into Logic and pull out a comparison block. And then I'll go into Variables and pull out a counter variable and place that over the 0 on the left side. And we need this set to equal, and it is, so we'll just leave that, and then we'll set this counter to 1. So we have if counter equals 1. And what we want to do here is set counter to 2. So I'm going to duplicate this set counter block and drag that under the if statement. Now you could always pull another set counter block out of variables if you want. And in this case, we want this set to 2, so I'll change that 1 to a 2. Now the next statement we have here is an else statement in this if then else block, and we really need an else if statement, so I'm going to click on this plus to create that statement, and then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the comparison block and drop that over the false, and then just change this 1 to a 2. And then we'll take the set counter block, duplicate that, and set the 2 to a 3. Finally, we have one more possibility, and that is that the counter is set to 3. In this case, I don't need to check to see if the counter is set to 3, so we can handle that in the else statement. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate the set counter block and drop that under the else, and then set the 3 to a 1. Okay, the next thing we need to do is to change our code in the forever block to handle different speeds of blinking for the icon. Here's the algorithm we used for flashing the icon. Show an icon, pause for 100 milliseconds, clear the screen, pause for another 100 milliseconds. I'm going to refer to this code as the blinking code as I diagram out the algorithm for changing the blinking speed in the forever block. So what we want to do is, if the counter is equal to 1, write the blinking code with pause length set to 100 milliseconds. If the counter is set to 2, we want to write the blinking code with the pause length set to 800 milliseconds. Otherwise, we assume that the value of counter is 3, and we write the blinking code with the pause length set to 1500 milliseconds. So let's get that code written. So we need to set up another if then else block that will be pretty much identical to this one. It'll just have different contents under each one of these if statements. So I'm just going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to drag this old one over here off screen so I don't have to see it. And I don't need this on start really all that badly now. So now I'll take this and drop it above the show icon statement. And then I'm going to delete these set counter statements. Then I'm going to take this set and drag it into the if counter equal 1 area. Now I need to make a copy of this code for each one of these. So I'll go ahead and just start duplicating. I'll duplicate the show icon, drop that under this else if, and then duplicate again and place it under the else. I'll do the same thing with the clear screen. And we'll go ahead and make this a little smaller so we can see it. And then finally, we'll do the pause. I'm going to duplicate this, drop that in between the cow icon and the clear, and then change the value to 800. And then I'll duplicate it and drop that one under the clear screen. Duplicate that one, drop that between the cow icon and the clear screen, change the value to 1500. Duplicate that one and drop that underneath the clear screen. Okay, so that's it. Now let's test this on the simulator. So I'm going to go over here to the simulator and click on the logo. And we can see that slows it down. Let's click on the logo again. And we can see that slows it down more. Now let's click on it one more time. And it speeds up again. Now let's test that on a microbit. So I have the code downloaded to this microbit, and you can see the icon blinking. Now I'm going to press the touch logo, and you can see it slowed down. We'll touch it again. And you can see it slowed down even more, and we'll give it one more touch here. And it speeded back up. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. And if you did, give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.